Look at your hand. The bones, the joints, the fact that it's attached to a brain that can sit here and wonder where it came from. Science says a few million years of slow evolution, but five different ancient civilizations, separated by oceans, by languages, by thousands of years, wrote down a different answer, the same different answer. Something came down out of the sky, built humanity on purpose, and left. It sounds insane. Then you read what they actually wrote. Start with Ezekiel, a priest sitting beside a river in Babylon around 593 BCE. He looks up and describes in detail a machine. He calls it a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 16. Its rims, he says, were full of eyes. Verse 18. The whole thing lifting off the ground in fire and noise. Ancient people didn't have machines. So what was he looking at? In 1974, a NASA engineer answered that, by accident. Joseph Blumrich helped design the Saturn V, the rocket that carried astronauts to the moon. He'd heard people claim Ezekiel saw a spacecraft, and he set out to disprove it. Instead, he convinced himself. He published The Spaceships of Ezekiel, engineering schematics for a landing craft, reverse engineered from a 2,500-year-old description. And Blumrich held a genuine patent for an omnidirectional wheel, a wheel that rolls in any direction. A wheel within a wheel. Ezekiel's vision is genuinely ancient, but the spacecraft reading is modern. It was popularized by a writer named Erich von Daniken in 1968, and the text itself calls what he saw the glory of God, not a UFO. Still, a wheel inside a wheel is a hard image to shake. And Ezekiel wasn't the first to watch something descend. Go back to the oldest writing humans ever made, Sumer in what's now Iraq, 5,000 years ago. The Sumerians wrote about the Anunnaki, a class of gods, and in the modern theory, those gods weren't gods at all. They were visitors from another world who built humanity as a labor force, a species engineered to do their work, that later remembered its makers as divine. The famous version is oddly specific. 450,000 years ago, beings from a hidden planet called Nibiru came to mine gold in Africa, and when the work got hard, they genetically engineered early humans into a slave race to dig it. None of that is Sumerian. It comes from one book, The 12th Planet, published in 1976 by a writer named Zechariah Sitchin. Anunnaki actually translates closer to princely offspring. And Nibiru, in the real texts, is just a bright point of light in the sky, most likely Jupiter. So the literal story is one man's invention, but the shape underneath it, sky beings who make humanity, the Sumerians genuinely wrote that down, and they weren't alone. The same shape is sitting in the most printed book on earth, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let us make man in our image. Us, our. The Hebrew name for God in that line, Elohim, is grammatically plural. Most scholars read it as a royal we or a heavenly court, but the question hangs there anyway. Who is us? 5 chapters later, it gets stranger. Genesis 6 describes the sons of God coming down, taking human wives, and fathering the Nephilim, translated in most Bibles as giants. When ancient Jewish scholars rendered the text into Greek, the version we call the Septuagint, they turned Nephilim into gigantes, giants. Literally, sky fathers, human mothers, giant hybrid children. Sumer called them the Anunnaki. The Hebrews called them the sons of God. The descent is identical, only the language changed. What those sons of God actually did is spelled out in a book that didn't make the final Bible, the Book of Enoch. Enoch names them, 200 sky beings called the Watchers, and a place, Mount Hermon, which you can still stand on today. And it says plainly what they came to do. They taught us. They handed humanity metalworking, the forging of swords and weapons, the reading of the stars, and the detail no one forgets. A watcher named Azazel taught people how to make eyeshadow and eyeliner, weapons and cosmetics delivered from the sky in the same breath. Their children, the Nephilim, grow into violent giants. Enoch describes them turning cannibal, and the whole thing ends in a flood that wipes the slate clean. Enoch was supposedly banned, cut from scripture, except The New Testament book of Jude, which is in the Bible, quotes it by name. Jude, verses 14 and 15, cite a line from 1 Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9. A banned book quoted inside the canon that banned it. What the theory quietly leaves out. In Enoch, the Watchers aren't benevolent. They're fallen angels who corrupt humanity. The book is a story of sin and judgment, not a gift. The aliens who lovingly upgraded us reading is a modern coat of paint. But the pattern underneath keeps holding. 3 cultures now: Anunnaki, sons of God, Watchers, same descent, same giants, and every time, the thing the visitors hand over is the same: knowledge. Knowledge has a keeper. And in Egypt, his name is Thoth, the god the Egyptians credited with inventing writing itself, the one who hands wisdom down to humankind. From his tradition comes one of the most copied lines ever written: as above, so below. The idea that whatever happens in the heavens is mirrored here on earth. It's a line from the Emerald Tablet, a real text that scholars and researchers have transcribed, translated, and studied for centuries. Isaac Newton, the Isaac Newton, sat down and translated it himself, by hand. And look at what Thoth actually is. One more figure who comes from above and hands humanity its knowledge. The Sumerians had the Anunnaki, the Hebrews had the sons of God, Enoch had the Watchers, Egypt has Thoth. 4 cultures, 4 names, 1 job, a being from the sky who gives us the secrets of civilization. By now, the stories aren't just similar, they're the same story, told in 4 different languages, which leaves one question. If all of these were written down, copied, and carried for thousands of years, where is the oldest copy? The one that was buried the whole time? Buried, literally. In 1947, in caves above the Dead Sea, a shepherd found clay jars holding scrolls that had sat in the dark for 2,000 years. Among them, Aramaic fragments of the Book of Enoch, the Watcher's story, physically confirmed as ancient, hidden in the desert the entire time. And there was more. The scrolls contained a book of giants, and it names them the giant children, Oya, Haya, Mawe, and listed among them Gilgamesh, the hero of the oldest epic ever written, somehow appearing inside a Jewish scroll. The traditions weren't just echoing each other across distance, they were touching. And there was a cover-up, a real one. For roughly 40 years, a small circle of scholars held a monopoly on the unpublished scrolls. Almost no one else was allowed to see them. The wall finally broke in September 1991 when the Huntington Library in California released its photographs to everyone. So what were they hiding? Not aliens, not spaceships, academics sitting on fragments they hadn't finished publishing. Ego, territory, and slow scholarship. The most boring answer possible, and the true one. So here's where it leaves us. 5 cultures: Sumer, Israel, the Watchers, Egypt, the Scrolls, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. And every single one explained the birth of civilization with the same sentence: someone came down from the sky and gave us knowledge. The theory says that's 5 witnesses to one real event, but the deeper answer might be stranger than aliens. Every civilization, on its own, reached for the same story to explain itself: a teacher from above. That's not 5 memories of a spacecraft. It's a single instinct, wired into every human group that ever lived, to look up, feel like we were handed something, and suspect we were made on purpose. The aliens are the easy answer. That all of us, everywhere, can't stop asking the question. That's the real mystery, and you're still asking it right now.